We are on. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Responsible Humans podcast. This is our first session, and this podcast is all about self growth, taking care of yourself, learning more, and doing more than a normal person would do, just growing yourself. And today, our guest is Deanna Foster. She is an e commerce business coach, and we are going to talk to her about her recent transition into a coach and learn some new things about e-commerce industry. So let's get into it. Hey, Tiana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, I am Deanna, or a lot of people call me Dee. I'm an e-commerce coach. So for the past 4+ years, I've built my own physical product businesses from scratch. And I went through all the ups and downs, learned like all the emotions and just constantly trying to find information from YouTube and Google and trying to stitch it together. And I'm creating businesses. So from all of my experience, I'm transitioning that into coaching now and teaching people exactly how to do the exact same thing, to give them the opportunity to step into business, step into e-commerce, step into that new venture or the new side hustle, the new income stream that they never thought they would have gotten into. And I take them through my systemized system and my course and program. So I make it very easy for them to take them from not knowing anything about business all the way to launching their own physical product brand with Shopify and having the skills and resources to be a confident business owner.
That's great. Thank you. The only experience I have with e-commerce is basically creating a Shopify website for a friend, which was a very short one. And I've been looking into Amazon FBA my whole time, but I never actually got to jump the bridge,
It's interesting you
if you
just
will.
mentioned Amazon FBA because Amazon FBA is actually my very first e-commerce experience. So I started with Amazon FBA
Wow.
and it was a huge learning curve because basically with Amazon FBA, if you don't know how the process works, basically you look at the backend data of Amazon and you do your product research based on core data and stats, and you see a gap in the market. As a business owner, you are that bridge from taking a product and giving it to the market that needs it. So giving the product to a market that needs to solve their problems, or it will benefit their lives, or just something to help the consumer in some way. That is your core your core job as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, to help serve the public. So when I started with Amazon FBA, it was, yes, a huge learning curve. So you do your product research on Amazon, and then you go ahead and you buy bulk inventory from manufacturers. So within the span of a few months, I taught myself product research, market research, negotiation, cold calling, supply chain management, logistics, basically everything, all the way up until launching the product. And it was really, really interesting looking back. So my first product was actually castor oil, and it's oil that a lot of women use for their eyebrows and eyelashes. And this one product actually had 6 different suppliers. So I had one supplier for the bottle, one for the label, one for the oil, one for the brushes, one for the box. And then I had to send all of these components to a co-packer, and the co-packer would pack it all up and then send it to Amazon. And then, Amazon would sell it. So I went through this process, and being a brand new entrepreneur, just trying to figure everything out by myself without any kind of support system, anyone to ask questions to, I was figuring it out. And so once I got all of these components and I put my label on it, I branded the product, which is known as private labeling. You put your design and your logo on product packaging. And then, so once I got all these components, I sent it to the co-packer, and it got to Amazon. I got a really nice email from Amazon that they actually dropped my inventory, and
Oh,
my inventory smashed all over the ground, and I lost a couple $1,000s. So that was my very first introduction into entrepreneurship. And I was 23 at the time, when all my friends were going out to the bars, partying, getting drunk, like, typical young 20-year-olds, like, what they do
yeah,
right out of college. And here I was, managing global supply chains and figuring out how to create my own business, my own brand. And then I hit my first brick wall, and it hurt a little bit. I was really shocked, actually. I was, you put so much effort into creating something, and then just like that, it,
drop.
it goes down. Yeah. So that was a huge learning lesson. So I think there's two ways of looking at something. Either it's a huge failure and you never try again, or it's a learning lesson. So you figure out what went wrong, what could you do next? And I realized that, you know, don't be selling glass products, because they have the opportunity to break during the supply chain. Make sure, your supply chain is just simplified, and to also not order a lot of bulk inventory right off the bat. So there were quite a few lessons, but being a new entrepreneur, I was like, this comes with the title. So I just shook myself off and I got back up and I started again. So that was actually my very first going back, my very first experience with entrepreneurship. And I've come a really long way since then. But it's one of those things where you look back and you realize that you don't know how to actually do something until you do it. Because there's one
Right.
thing of like reading books, looking at videos, and all this stuff. However, the best way to learn is to fail fast. Exactly like what we were talking about right before we started this podcast, is
Right.
to fail fast, fail forward, and then learn from it.
Yep, I love that line, fail fast.
Mhm.
So I'm very interested. So did Amazon refund you when they dropped all your inventory?
So my inventory was worth $5,000 and they refunded $400.
And why
Yeah.
even that?
Yeah.
But that's interesting. You have hustled your way all these years to create these businesses, and now you have created something that you wish would be there at that time when you were starting. That's very
Absolutely. Yeah.
interesting.
Yes, because going through the process of learning everything by yourself, like I have made, I have failed so many more times than people have ever tried. And I'm perfectly fine with that because I have so much experience under my belt. And I just want people to know that, like, if you fail, it's actually just showing you, what you could do better the next time. It's really not, I always say that um, setbacks are external, failure is internal. You only fail when you truly believe you fail, but realistically, they're just setbacks and you can keep going. So, yes, now I've created a step by step program and process of creating your own online brand, physical products that's very easy, very simplified, and it's just a foolproof system that I've used rinse and repeat over and over again to take you from not having a business to having a full blown and operating business.
Does this program also teaches all the various skills that you mentioned you had trouble with? Negotiation, cold calls, getting set up with suppliers. Does
Yes,
this
absolutely. Yeah, it's everything. So I talk about negotiation, I talk about really just how to handle yourself as a business owner. So you're going to be wearing a lot of different hats. You're a marketer, you're a supply chain management, your operations, your financial, you're a CFO, you're a CEO, you're a COO. There's a lot of different hats. And yeah, I talk about everything and to really just offer as much content that I can to help people succeed.
That's great. So how long a program would be if someone was looking to get started?
Yeah, so it's 6 weeks. However, if you're really ambitious, you could do it in less time. However, I say 6 weeks minimum just to give yourself enough time to really conceptualize all the tactics and the mindset component, because mindset is the number one factor you really need to hone as an entrepreneur. And a
Right.
lot of people bypass this and they just go right into the strategies and the tactics. However, if your mind isn't in the right place, then things just won't work, because you are your business. And the more you grow, and this goes into your brand as well, like when you're talking about stepping out of your comfort zone, the more you grow, the more you read and learn new things and really cultivate that good, healthy lifestyle, that all around healthy lifestyle, which is including your mind, then that's when things really start to take place and take off.
Totally, I agree. That's a good segue to my next question. So as a business owner, how do you manage your all your work? Because as an entrepreneur, you are never off. It's not like a 9 to 5 job where you are at 5 o'clock and you are just done with the work. So how do you manage that balance with the life?
Yeah. I am so lucky because I've designed my life and I've created this life that it doesn't feel like work. So I actually get very excited to do work because I'm doing something I'm passionate about. However, work-life balance is incredibly important as an entrepreneur because, yes, like you're saying, there's no set hours, there's no set rules, and you really have to be disciplined to you have to be disciplined in two aspects: disciplined to do the work and disciplined to not do the work, and know
The rest.
when to rest and shut down the computer, turn off your phone, or you're going to be working 24/7, and that's actually not productive, and because you keep, burning yourself out. So what I really do is I look at my main goal of whatever I want to achieve within the next year, and I start to break it down. So, say I want to be making $30,000 months within a year, I will start breaking it down into the quarters. So, what does that look like in quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, and quarter four? And you just start reverse engineering everything. So then you take, okay, that's what my milestones look like per quarter. Now, within that quarter, within those 3 months, let's break that goal down into monthly, right? You break it down into monthly, and then you take a month and you break it down into weekly. You take that week, you break it down into daily. So it's basically you create a ladder, like a stair step system of if you take action every day with, and it doesn't have to be crazy amount of work every single day. If you're actually doing the proper things that are productive to your goals, then you're going to get there. It's not about being busy, it's about doing like 80/20 rule. So doing what's most important and not just doing everything for the sake of doing everything. So once you break down those goals, I schedule that into my calendar. So I schedule my weekly to-dos into my calendar. And then I make sure that when I'm setting those goals, I'm also setting personal goals too. So you're setting business goals, but also like, how many countries do I want to travel to? How many new friendships do I want to make? How many times do I want to go to the gym? It's all of these things. And if you just focus on like 1 to 3 core goals, because there's no point in setting 50 goals because you're going to overwhelm yourself, right? So
Exactly.
setting 1 to 3 goals and scheduling in this time in your calendar, but then having the discipline to follow through and having the integrity of following through on your calendar of when you're on and when you're off.
Awesome. So I want to explain the 80/20 principle to our listeners for people who don't know. I think it's the
For
Pareto
sure.
principle, right?
It
80% of the
is.
results come from 20% of the work in any
Yes.
activity, be it your job, your business, even gym. It's
Yes.
that 20% that will give you the 80% results. So
Yes.
I do the same with the way you mentioned goals and to-dos. However, one thing I feel like What if you miss your to-do for a day or a week? Does that set you back, or you have a process to come out of it and just move forward?
Yeah, so if you miss your to-do for the day, you can schedule it into another time. However, if you're constantly procrastinating on something, which as a business owner, there's no one there to say, "Hey, I need this done by end of day today," because you're your boss, but you're also your employee. So
There's nobody holding
really,
you accountable.
yeah, so there's no one holding you accountable. So if you keep pushing something off and you're procrastinating on this specific thing, you have to either have like a weekly touch in point with yourself, like a weekly reflection or something where you say, okay, I have been procrastinating on this. Why? And it's probably a mindset. So you probably have to do a mindset shift, or maybe the task is just too big, or maybe it's actually not in line with your goals and that's why you're procrastinating on it. However, it usually comes down to fear. So, fear and the unknown, because you're constantly stepping into the unknown, you're stepping out of your comfort zone, and you just have to realize when that's happening and the patterns. You'll see the patterns very quickly in entrepreneurship because you're spending all day with yourself. And then you realize you're like, okay, I have to take a step back and I have to reevaluate this task, this goal. And is it serving me? Is it serving my highest goals of what I want to accomplish this year? Is it too big? Am I scared to get started with it? Do I need help? It's okay to ask for help if you need support. Maybe you do need, a business coach. Maybe you need someone in your friend group or your network that you can ask a question to get you over this little hurdle. Um, but it's not to beat yourself up over. It's just to stop, reevaluate, and then move forward.
Great. Yeah, like a mentor. Everybody needs a
Yes.
mentor, I believe.
Yes.
We are almost out of time, so I'm going to ask you one last question, and that's going to be, so let's say someone is looking to get started in the e-commerce business. What tips would you give, 3 or 5 tips that they can implement for free right now to get started?
Yes. The very first step, I would say, if you're stepping into entrepreneurship, is to read. Get some business books, because the number one thing you have to do when first starting is you have to shift your mindset from a corporate 9 to 5 mindset into the entrepreneur mindset. And they are very different. With an entrepreneur mindset, you will actively seek out opportunities and you actually view the world very, very differently. Like, I view products very differently. Someone may see a product in the store and say, oh, that would be great. When I see a product in the store, I'm thinking, what's the cost on that? How did it get here? The supply chain? What's the market want with that? The opportunity? There's so many things going on in my mind that it actually gives you like a whole different viewpoint. So you put on your entrepreneur goggles. So I would say start with Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That's an amazing book. I would say You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero is really great. And anything around there, like the 4 Hour Work Week is really great. Any kind of those books. Now, what you want to do is just get that foundation, but don't get stuck in the analysis paralysis of just keep reading business books, but then not actually doing anything. So after you get the foundation, you've read at least maybe 3 books just to get into that mindset. Then you need to do a little bit of research. So go onto YouTube, figure out what kind of business model resonates with you, whether that's e-commerce, affiliate marketing, multi-level marketing, like whatever really corresponds with your skills. Then once you find something that sparks your interest and sparks a love, then I would suggest going out and finding a program and a mentor to help you with that, because you are leveraging all of their experiences and you're basically taking the fast lane and a shortcut to learn from everything, and then you get to where you want to go a lot faster than if you try to do everything by yourself.
Amazing. I hope our listeners find value in all those words. Thank you so much. So where can people find you if people want to contact you, follow you?
Absolutely. So the primary way is Instagram, and I'm just at ecomd. So that's ecom.dee, or on LinkedIn, Deanna Foster, Facebook, Deanna Foster, but I'm primarily on Instagram and I'm pretty active on there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Deanna. It was great chatting with you. I hope our listeners found it very interesting. And yeah, contact Diana if you would like to talk to her or get into the coaching program, or if you have any entrepreneurship questions.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank you
you
so much for having
and
me.
welcome. And there we go. And now I'm just looking for this.